Hi, welcome back. I'm Brainerror, and today the day has come of the results of my DNA test. And I have been procrastinating for about an hour since I found out, because all of a sudden I don't really want to know. It's a weird thing. It's like you've been told something your entire life, and even more importantly for my mom, of course, who's very anxiously messaging me at the moment. I'm trying to ignore her for a bit because I need to get through this. Sorry, Mom. Yeah, it's even more important for her because all of her life she's been told a certain thing, and now it's going to be whatever the results are. That's what it is. That's what it's scientifically proven to be. So she's really high on emotion at the moment, and I'm feeling that really badly right now. And I hope that whatever comes out, it will be not disappointing. I don't mind so much not being Indonesian. I mean, I've always kind of taken it with a grain of salt because I can see it in my mom, I can see it in my granddad, but me, no, not at all. But I also don't think we're 100% Dutch, because if you look at my dad's family, very, very different looking. They are typically Dutch looking. If you look at my mom's family, you would think that there are other cultures mixed in there. So yeah, I am shitting myself right now. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes out of this. I'm sure it'll be something that we don't expect. I was talking to my friend Jess on Twitter the other day, where she did a similar test to see how Italian she is. She's American Italian, and apparently some of her family have been lying about their heritage of how Italian they were. So when she did the test, it was very disappointing because it came out as her being less Italian than she thought she was all of her life. But when you look at her, she does look American Italian, so, you know, at least she's got that in her favor. I just look white. Anyway, I gotta stop procrastinating. Let's do this. So there we have it. Denise, welcome to you. The 23andMe results for Denise Stout are in. A world of DNA discovery is awaiting. Let's do it. We found a lot of DNA relatives for some reason, but the first thing that I see, unfortunately, is that I'm 56.5% French and German. Oh my lord. Let's have a look at that. Yep, none of it's Indonesian. I kind of figured that. So that means that I have no Asian blood whatsoever. 99.9% Northwestern European. Oh, see, and this is the problem with people just making up shit or not talking about their stuff, because my granddad never talked about anything, but he was always he was always talking about Indonesia. But I also found out that he was in a concentration camp back in World War II, and apparently a lot of Indonesians would end up there as well, because we have a big Indonesian population in Holland. So maybe he picked up loads of stuff from there, you know, but he never explained anything. And he was so dark-skinned that you would think that he's not Dutch. And he still doesn't look Dutch to me. If you have European ancestry, you're probably descended from Charlemagne. The authors of a recent study estimated that every European who lived over 1,000 years ago and left descendants is very likely the ancestor of every ethnically European person alive today. Wow. And Charlemagne, king of the Franks, was particularly prolific, siring around 20 known children. Wow. So he's my great-great-grandpa? Interesting. Anyway, I should probably let my mom know that her whole life's been a lie. Let's get back to that. I'm slightly upset now because, you know, you've been told a certain thing your entire life. I don't know, my mom seems to be taking it pretty well, but I'm not. It's more that you've been told a certain thing your entire life and then it turns out to be bullshit, so that's kind of crappy. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I know now. I'm just freaking white, you know, white as the the god-given snow, because you know, that's why I have yellow toned skin, because I'm so white. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's fine. So yeah, it looks like the Netherlands, of course, is then the most prominent, and looks like The Hague and Rotterdam, which is true because that's where my family's from, is from Rotterdam, so that's where my strongest connection is in me. So since French and German people have lived at a crossroads in human migration for millennia, and their genetics reflect that in history. Right, of course. Celtic languages and culture first appeared in Central Europe, extending from the British Isles to the Black Sea by the 3rd century BCE. But the rise of the Roman Empire spelled the downfall of Celtic-speaking Europe, and today Celtic languages can only be found along the far western periphery of their former territory. With the Western Roman Empire in decline, Germanic tribes conquered vast territories from the North Sea to North Africa, although Germanic languages did not replace the Latin-based languages spoken in what is now France and Belgium. Recent studies found evidence that migrations of Germanic peoples from the 4th to the 6th centuries had a more significant impact on Europe's DNA than the earlier expansions of the Roman Empire. So that's where the Celtic origins come from. So I wonder if the 18.9% of me being Irish and English is actually from that, and not so much of how it is today. Oh, this is interesting. So because I'm lactose intolerant, right? Which kind of made me think more that I have Asian ancestry, because lactose intolerance is a really big thing in Asia. But here it says, sometime in the last 10,000 years, though possibly as early as 20,000 years ago, a genetic mutation arose in Europe, giving people the ability to continue digesting lactose into adulthood, thanks to the persisting activity of an enzyme called lactase. So again, we are not supposed to be eating dairy or drinking dairy after, you know, the initial stage of breastfeeding. But this has mutated, so it's a mutation that we can now eat it. And those who have lactose intolerance are actually not mutated. Yay! I'm not a freak! So yeah, this is my full report. It's 56.5% French and German, 18.9% British and Irish, and 7.9% Scandinavian. I quite like that there's a little bit of Scandinavian in there, though. I'm gonna look where we're from in Scandi. Oh, it says, while we can link your DNA to this population, we can't identify the more specific locations of your recent ancestry. Taking a survey. Okay, I can. So yeah, in the end, I am white. I am so white. But yeah, I quite like that there's a mix. At least it's not just one thing, because again, when you see my dad's family tree, they all kind of stayed in the same area. They all did similar trades. They never changed, you know, they never married outside of their country or their area. And it's pretty boring. I mean, I'm sorry, you know, your DNA is very strong and that's great, but it's pretty boring. It's just like... And I like that my mom's side of things are a little bit more fluid, and it's nice to see that there's French and German in there, then we've got British and Irish, and then Scandinavian. So I'll very proudly cling on the Scandinavian bit of it. I don't mind being some French and German. And I quite like that my ancestors have lived in the neighboring county that I am in now, so that's pretty cool. I like that. So there's some connections there, but I have to say, I'm a little bit sore. I am a little bit heart sore, because there was so much weight put on this. I don't know why. It all started when one of my uncles was born, and his skin was very different in particular areas where they shouldn't be. And again, if you look at my mom, she's so much darker than the other kids, and so is my granddad. My granddad, especially when he was older, he just, maybe that's the French in him, I don't know, but he was so dark-skinned and such high cheekbones, and, you know, he just looked like he could have been. So that's why it was so different. And the fact that some of my uncles are very, very different looking, And I was thinking maybe Middle Eastern. I was kind of hoping that there was Middle Eastern in there. If it wasn't going to be Asia, then at least it would be Middle Eastern, because that would have been very likely for me, more likely than Asia. But no, nothing. It's hard to get used to. Like I said before I did this, it doesn't change who I am, of course, but it does make you question a lot of things. And it makes you question how, first of all, how badly families communicate with each other, how much we lie to each other. Like, my mom has asked this question throughout her life, and none of her parents would ever answer her yes or no. They just said, does it really matter? Well, it matters to her, that's why she asks, you know. But yeah, then my mom's very dark-skinned, and one of my aunts is very dark-skinned. I don't know, maybe that's just the French. Maybe, I mean, if you go to the south of France, if you see people living in the country there, they are quite dark-skinned, and they have that olivey color. So maybe that's what I'm seeing in my skin, I don't know. I have no idea. But I definitely have yellow undertones in my skin, because I know, because of the makeup that I buy is Korean, because they have the right amount of yellow undertone in their foundation. I can't wear anything that I buy here in the shops because they're too pink or too orange, and so I always have to go to Korean makeup brands. So it actually suits my skin, and that's where the confusion comes from, you know. The midwife thinking that maybe there was something going on there, and then my granddad always referencing Sukabumi, which is an Indonesian town just out of Jakarta, and then my mom fully believing this as well, and some of my aunts as well. My aunts and some of my nieces were fully on board, and there was this whole confusion about my great-granddad being Indonesian or not, because he doesn't really look typical European either. But then what do I know? Because it's so mixed. So, you know, nobody's 100% anything. And it's so mixed, and especially the Germanic area has been like all mixed around, and we traveled everywhere. But I'm also kind of surprised that there's no Polish in there. There's no, I don't know. I was really expecting something Baltic or something Eastern European in there. Or maybe even Italian. If they would have come back with like, yes, actually you're 30% Italian, I would have believed that as well, just because of what my granddad looked like. But yeah, it's surprising. And another thing is that I know somebody who is half Indonesian. She doesn't look like she's Asian at all. And then I know somebody else who's half Taiwanese, and he looks very white. Like, you wouldn't say he has any Asian ancestry at all either. So that kind of, you know, that fuels the fire, and that's really shitty. It gives you that false hope. Anyway, now we know. As far as this can be, you know, researched, because if people don't input their results, if they don't participate in the DNA research, because I've said yes to everything. I want people to find their roots. I want people to find the answers. And I've seen a lot of, like, you can see their DNA relatives list. So that means that I have a lot of people who are connected to me one way or another. Like, they're all third, fourth cousins, whatever. But it's still pretty cool. So if I wanted to expand the knowledge of anybody who's related to me, I could. So there's 1,381 relatives that are discovered that are connected to me. And then I've got 789 third to fourth cousins, and that's a lot of family, you know, if you think about that. I mean, my family's big enough, but yeah, that's it's nice to see that you are connected to a lot more people than you thought. Guess now I don't have to visit Indonesia anymore. Oh, I'm kidding. I'm still gonna go. I'm probably crying Sukabumi. This is not my ancestry, but I wish it was. Oh, I'm a privileged white person. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I have to change all of my profiles now. Thank you so much, and I'll see you when I see you.